Hi everyone, it's Gina K again, and I have another video for you today. This is part 2 of our release party presentation video, and in this video we're focusing on the brand new beautiful set called Stippled Flowers. This is a brand new stamp set that was drawn by my daughter Alicia, and she did some really interesting things with this set. She gave us some beautiful stamps that we can color with watercolor, Copic markers, colored pencil, but she also gave us some stippled inside. So if we just wanted to do some simple two-step stamping, we can add these little dots in another color inside, or we can add them over some embossing for just a hint of accent color, and I'm going to show that to you today. This set comes in a regular stamp set, and it also comes in the stamp and die bundle. So for those of you that like to cut everything out, I would recommend getting the stamp and die bundle. Alright, so I am going to start with a few tools here. I'm going to be embossing, so I'm going to be using some of this VersaMark ink. I'm also going to use some white embossing powder for one sample, and then I'm going to use some rose gold for another sample. This is the new Rose Gold by Gina K Designs, and it's a beautiful gold that has a hint of pink in it. Then I have some of this purple tape. This is a new tape by ThermoWeb. It's in our store right now, and it's pretty amazing because it's similar to painter's tape, but it's not as sticky. So you can use this on stencils and to hold your dies down and all kinds of things, and it won't tear your paper. Then I have the dies here. I have an embossing magic pad to remove static or oil from the surface of my card. And then I have a couple of Zig clean color brush markers. I have the turquoise green, I have mid green, and I have light blue. And then I just picked up these Arteza real brush pens. I actually sleep ordered these. I was looking at them on the website, and when I woke up the next day, my iPad was laying next to me, and I had no idea what happened, and then 2 days later these showed up at my door. So I'm pretty excited to show you these. And I really like them. They blend beautifully with the zigs, so I'm kind of glad I did that because I'm having a lot of fun. And then I also have a Gina K Designs water brush. I also have another paintbrush just to brush off any embossing powder if it gets in places I don't want it. And then for cardstock, I'm using some of the Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock. I'm going to use the smooth side for my first card. And then for my second card, I'm going to use a couple Copic markers. I'm going to use, let's see here, it's A-T-O-L-I, Atoli, YR65. I hope I saw that correctly. I don't know. And then there's a green one here, G24, and this is Willow. So I'm going to be using these two markers for my second card, my second demo for you. Okay, so to begin, I'm going to start with some of this embossing magic, just to remove any of the oils and static. And I'm going to grab an acrylic block, and I'm going to start with this big flower here. I'm going to ink that up with some VersaMark. And I'm going to stamp that. And then I'm going to ink up one of the leaves, also with VersaMark. And I'm going to stamp that. Then I'm going to use the white embossing powder for this. So I use so much white that I have it in a big container. I spilled out a whole bunch of the little Gina K cups of white embossing powder and put them in there. So that's all ready to be embossed. And I have my heat tool here. I'm going to heat it up for just a second. This way I'll eliminate a little bit of the warping on this cardstock from the heat. And here we go. That just helps it to emboss more quickly. I know that might be a little difficult to see, but you might be able to see the shine in it. Maybe a little bit. Okay. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of water here. And I'm going to squeeze out a little bit of water onto my leaves. And then I'm going to start with the mid-green. I'm going to add some color in there, and you can just see the water carry that color. And again, I know I've said this a million times, but there are so many fantastic watercolor artists out there that do just amazing work, and I love to watch their videos, and I love to practice and kind of stop and start their videos as I go, but I am not that person. I am definitely more of a crafter and less of an artist, but I have a lot of fun, and I think that that's important too. So, you know, don't worry about trying to make it look perfect all the time. Just have fun with it and see what happens. So now I'm going to use this Arteza brush, and I don't even see a name on this color, but it's the one that looks very much like our fresh asparagus cardstock. It's an olivey looking green. I'm going to add just a little bit of that to the leaves. And then I'm going to go back in with my mid-green and just blend some of that out. You can see they work really nicely together. I was pleasantly surprised. So if you're looking for a more economical brand, this Arteza brand seems to work really well. If you want tons of colors and there's not enough zig colors for you, I think there's 80, just adding a little water to that to soften everything. This is a great addition to your zigs. Okay, so that is done. Now I'm going to add a little bit of water to my flower here. And you can saturate it as much as you want. I just like to get a little bit of color on there, a little bit of water on there first. And now I'm going to use this. This is the blue-green, turquoise green. You can see I'm just adding at the bottoms of the petals and just letting the water carry it. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more here for you. Okay. See the way the water just grabs it and it just flows up onto the petal. It's real mesmerizing to watch watercolor. Now, I've watched some of the fantastic artists out there who do the no-line watercolor, and oh man, it's amazing to watch them. I'm not that talented at watercolor, so I like to emboss first because then the water stays in the lines and it doesn't go outside of the lines. I think I would just have a big glob of a mess if I tried to do some of those techniques and make it look like they have, like they do. But for those of you who are more like me, and if you emboss first, it really helps a lot. Okay, so I've added that color on, and now I'm going to go with the lighter one, the light blue. I'm just going to bring some of that color and blend it toward the end of each petal. And if you need to add more water, you certainly can. Just go back over it with the water brush a little bit. You can kind of see that water's still on there. It's still carrying it. And then you can go back and darken things up more if you want. You can pick a darker turquoise for around the base again if you feel like there's not enough contrast. I'm going to add a little bit more water to these. And pull in some of that light blue. I like where it almost fades out to white. It's so pretty. And then if you want to add more, go back in with that darker color and add a little bit more in there. Actually, those little brush lines look really pretty in there. Sometimes your brush gets too wet from all the water and it doesn't seem like any color's coming off. And I just take a little scrap piece of paper and I just bounce some color and kind of get it flowing again. And then I'll go back with that lighter blue over here. So that's my flower. Nothing fancy. If it's not blended enough, you can blend some more or add some more water. That's the beauty of watercolor, though. It's always different. Every petal's going to look a little bit different, and each one is unique and each one is fun. Okay, so I'm going to put these aside, and then the next step would be to cut out all my flowers using the dies. So I've already done that. I've pre-cut some flowers, and I want to show you what my pre-cut ones look like. I've done a little cluster of them here, so you can see how they look. And that was really fun. It's really relaxing. If you have no mojo, just stamp a bunch of these flowers and sit and watercolor them and cut them out and then just put them in a box. And one day you're going to have mojo and you're going to have all these beautiful cut pieces ready to go. So I'm going to lay this out here. I have a turquoise sea card base. And then I took a piece of our white Gina K Designs layering weight cardstock and I used the Swiss dot embossing folder. You guys know I'm kind of hooked on that. And then I put it on a black panel and I'm going to adhere those to the card base. So we'll have a finished card here. And then this I'm going to put right onto the card. I'm going to try to be brave and get it all laid out and then put my greeting on at the very end. So we'll see how that goes. So for this layout, I think I'm going to use this flower instead of this one. I do love this one, and I used it on my other sample, but I'm going to hold off and keep that for another card. So I'm going to kind of do like a layout like this, and then bring these leaves in off the sides and then add my greeting right there. So I think I'm going to use a smaller greeting. Boy, this would make a beautiful sympathy card. But I think I'm going to do thank you, because I always need thank you cards, because there are so many wonderfully nice people I have in my life that I'm so thankful for. So I'm sure I'm going to need a thank you card in the near future. All right, and I am going to use just some black ink to ink this up. I want to make sure I don't have ink on my fingers. Okay, I'm using this tiny little Gina K Designs block for this. Sorry if my head got in the way. It's so stressful to get it spot on. I should have used the Misty and then I wouldn't have worried. Okay, so I have my little thank you greeting, and now I can kind of build this around that greeting. So I think I will start by laying this flower down first. I'm going to just use some tape for that. And then this one will go here. Like that. And then this one I think I'm going to use a few little foam squares. So I'm going to grab those. This way, this one will be popped up just a little bit. Give the card some interesting dimension. Peel off the liners. They're very staticky in the winter. Okay. And we'll put that one right here, like that. And then I'm going to tuck these leaves all around underneath the different flowers. So this can slide in under here. This one can come out from over here. We'll do another one right here. And we'll do a big one next to it, because there are two different size leaves and they go in different orientations, so it's kind of nice for when you're building these bouquets. And do I want one more? I always have to look at it first and see. Yeah, that's pretty. I think I'll add that up there. Okay, so there is that finished card. What a fun set this is to color. Okay, so now I'm going to show you another thing that you can do with this. I'm going to grab just a piece of regular Gina K Designs cardstock. And once again, I'm going to use the Embossing Magic Pad. And then I'm going to stamp the leaves again. Stamp one leaf there. And we'll stamp, let's do this, let me see here. Yeah, I'll do the same flower. All right, we'll just do this one up here. And then this time I'm going to use some of the rose gold. So let me get that out, and then I have a piece of scrap paper here. I get the feeling I'm going to need a big container for the rose gold because this is quickly becoming one of my new favorite embossing powders. Such a pretty color gold. It looks so peachy and pink though when you first put it on. It's hard to believe that it's going to actually look gold, but it does. Okay. And I'm not going to worry about getting rid of those little flakes because I'm going to be cutting these out with dies too. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, so you can see this up close. You see that shine of rose gold. Now in my sample card I used our regular gold, so I'll hold them up side by side and you can see the difference in the colors. So I'm going to use this G24 Copic marker. I'm just going to color it in straight away with Copic. I'm not going to worry about shading, although you certainly could if you wanted to. But I want to add that little stippling to this. And it's very subtle. The stipples are very subtle. I mean, unless you do them in like black or you emboss them in another color or something. Okay. And then I'm going to color this one with the YR65. And this color actually looks very peach when it's colored. I thought it was going to look more yellow, but I really fell in love with it when I colored with it. Definitely a pretty peach color. And you can see I'm coloring right over the embossing powder. And I do that a lot. It will, depending on the color, it will actually change the color of your embossing powder, but then if you go back over it with another color, it'll change it again, so that doesn't really bother me too much. I can still see all that shine through it. And especially this combination, because this color is almost the same color as the embossing powder, so it's really not affecting it. All right. A couple more petals and we'll be ready to add the stipples. And you can add those stipples in any color you want. I find that the most subtle look is to go very, very close to the color of the original flower. And it just gives it a little bit of shading. Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to grab my fresh asparagus ink cube here, and I'm going to put the stipple stamp that goes with this stamp. And that would be, you might want to test them out and make sure you have the right ones, but I believe it's this one. And you can see once you get the stipples on there, or once you get the ink on there, you can kind of see how it's supposed to lay out. One thing I would recommend is grab a piece of scrap paper and stamp it first. So then you can kind of see the way it will line up on the stamp. And that will help you get it more in the lines. So I'm going to stamp that right on there. Excuse my head. So there I've added some stippling. And then that will wipe off of the embossing powder because it's a dye ink. It's not a permanent ink. And then for the big flower, I'm going to use some peach Bellini. It's definitely one of my favorite colors that I don't use anywhere near enough. Again, I want to see what that looks like. Okay, so okay, get that right in there. And that just added a little bit of darkness. You can kind of see it just right around the edges of the rose gold. Gives you just a little bit of depth. So that's kind of fun. Now let me show you my sample card that I made using this color combination with the stippling. So here is the sample card that I made, and I'm using the Sending Healing Thoughts. I really like that greeting because every once in a while I have somebody that I love that's going through a hard time, and you just want them to know that you're thinking about them and that you're praying for their healing. So that is, you can see all the little stippled dots in there when everything dried. So this is the actual gold, the Gina K Designs Fine Detail Gold, and then this is the rose gold. So you can see it's definitely more of a peachy gold. And so there is that finished card project. And let me lay them out both together so you can get both ideas here. What a fun set to play with. Now, I did mention in my part 1 video that we had pre-cut card bases, and I want to show you what they look like, how they come. I just grabbed a few colors off of the shelf. They're getting all ready out there for our big release, so I didn't want to get in the way too much, but we have both orientations. So you can see you can buy the long cards, so you can do the fold-over tent cards, and then the short cards. So you can do either way, and they come in 10 packs for $2.95. And this is really nice because you can try a whole bunch of colors this way without having to buy full 25 sheet packs. Maybe there's a color that you only want to use as an accent, and that's going to enable you to get just a little taste of different colors. This is the fresh asparagus. Here's our bubble gum. And remember, these have envelopes that coordinate with them as well. Here is the blue lagoon. Here's some apple mint, and so on and so on. So those are also available tonight in our online store at GinaKDesigns.com, along with our new Wreath Builder kit and bundle, the Stippled Flowers stamp set and stamp and die bundle, the new rose gold embossing powder, and the new Gina K Designs Tidy Towel. Well, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's release party presentation videos, and stay tuned to Stamp TV for more projects featuring these brand new stamp sets, and thanks so much for watching.